HomeTown Happenings, a Texas Red special, is made possible in part by these community businesses. LaSalle Hotel, a Main Street-style boutique hotel built in 1928. The LaSalle Hotel is in the heart of historic downtown Bryan. Steeped in history and reborn in 2000, the LaSalle Hotel envelops you in a sense of vintage charm, but with all the modern amenities of the 21st century. Additional underwriting by Unix Barbecue and Grill in Welborn, Texas, offering barbecue plates, hamburgers, pork ribs, smoked meats, and assorted side dishes. In business since the early 1980s, providing professional catering and cooking services to nonprofit groups, individuals, and companies for a wide variety of events. Located at 14895 FM 2154 in Welborn, Texas. And finally, HomeTown Happenings, a Texas Red special, is made possible in part by Manor House Inn of College Station. Working closely with the communities of Bryan and College Station, area partners, associate hotels, and travel agents to maintain a peaceful and equitable environment for traveling families and business persons visiting our community. Manor House Inn. The traveling family is our life's work. We're here in historic downtown Bryan. The streets are all quiet now, but just a few days ago they were anything but quiet. It's the HomeTown Happenings Texas Reds Steak and Grape Festival. You know, one of the things I did learn while we were at the Texas Red Steak and Grape Festival is they still make wine with corks in the bottles. All of mine at home, you either screw off the top or they come in those big 5-gallon boxes. Who was I to know? Get your pinkies up, folks. It's wine sipping time. Wine educator Rob Camper got to sit down with Paul and Meryl Bonarigo of the Messina Hoff Wineries, and they talked a little bit about the Texas wine industry. We'll be back with more of the Texas Red Steak and Grape Festival from the historic downtown Bryan right after this. You know, after all, Bryan's city slogan is the good life, Texas style. Well, you can't get much better than this. A big juicy steak grilled to perfection and a bottle of your favorite wine. And now that is the good life, Texas style. Let's drop into the LaSalle Cafe where Rob Camper, wine educator, sat down with Paul and Meryl Bonarigo of Messina Hoff Wineries.
Okay, folks, welcome to the Texas Reds Festival. We're here with Paul and Meryl Bonarigo from Messina Hoff Winery in Bryan, Texas. Welcome, y'all.
Thanks for coming. Great to be here.
Oh, thanks for coming. Well, I wanted to talk to y'all about a couple of different things and get y'all's feedback on some stuff. First off, I want to hear about Messina Hoff Winery. Back in the late 70s, I've been doing a lot of research, and back in the late 70s, there's been a lot of talk about how Texas wine really went through a renaissance. And tell me about Messina Hoff's place in that, and where have y'all come from, and where are y'all today?
Well, in the late 70s, you remember the miniseries Roots came out, and that was really our inspiration for finding out more about our heritage, where we learned that Paul's family was from Messina, Sicily, and my family was from Hof, Germany. So we named our little piece of earth here Messina Hoff, and at the same time, we learned that Paul's Italian heritage really had a history of winemaking, and in Messina, Sicily, that they had been producing wine since 1800. And that the firstborn son of each generation was named Paul, and Paul was always the winemaker then for his generation. So we got really interested in finding out more about that winemaking aspect of the family and planted an experimental vineyard in 1977 that got us started. It really launched our participation in the Texas industry.
Fantastic.
And at the time there were 3 Texas wineries.
Okay.
And it's been unbelievable to see that we've gone from 3 to more than 130.
So let's talk about Sicily for a second. Your family made wine in Sicily, Bryan, Texas. Is there any kind of agricultural or any kind of relationship there?
Ironically, the family moved to New York State because in Sicily at the time they were having problems with phylloxera, which is an insect that eats the roots of the plant. So as a result, granddad moved from Sicily to New York State, planted a vineyard there, and started a winery.
Okay.
1919, we had Prohibition. So that was the end of all wineries in the United States until 1933. And then when I came to Texas, I saw tremendous similarity between this part of the state and Sicily. As a matter of fact, a lot of Sicilians immigrated to the Brazos Valley.
Okay.
And so it seemed like a natural thing. So when A&M wanted us to participate in a experimental vineyard, it seemed natural. I mean, you know, it was genetically in my blood, and it was something that we really wanted to do. So we worked with A&M and planted that 1 acre, and now the industry has taken off. It's the fastest growing wine industry in the United States now.
Let's shift gears one more time and talk back again on the Texas Reds Festival. What do you think that really means for the Texas wine industry, and what do you think that really means for this particular area in general?
Well, you know, the thing that I've always believed is Bryan College Station is the center of the state of Texas. Within a 3-hour drive, 85% of the population of the state of Texas lives. So if you're thinking of a place that would be perfectly suited for a major festival, we are exactly the same distance from Houston to Bryan College Station as it is from San Francisco to the Napa Valley. So we are wine country, and I can't think of a better festival to have in wine country. And then
Absolutely.
To see the way all of the Texas wineries have responded. They're so optimistic, so positive, and the city leadership has been unbelievable because to make this their signature event, I think, shows the kind of vision that exists in our city government in Bryan.
Well, and I think also the Brazos Valley is founded in agriculture. That's where it began. That's where its roots started. And it's exciting to see that that now has evolved to a different type of agriculture, but it's centered around a more cultural, a little more sophisticated type agriculture.
I would agree.
And it actually helps position us as a culinary center right here in Texas.
It almost sounds like you're talking about Bryan analogous to the town of Napa even.
Right.
Yes,
The
exactly.
Texas wine scene in general really has struggled to really find a center home or a center anchor, and it almost sounds like you're suggesting that Bryan could be that. I
think
felt
it
that
could
as
be
well.
a major anchor.
I mean, you look around and you see what the downtown revitalization has, shown us with new restaurants, little boutique restaurants and things like that. People aren't just making Tex-Mex and barbecue here
That's
either.
right. Well, in Bryan College Station as a whole, we've got now wine bars. We have 5-star restaurants. We really have come a long way. And now you have a vineyard, just a few miles down the road.
Sure. And maybe a couple more coming up.
Exactly.
Doesn't sound like to me it would really disgruntle you guys if a couple more top-class wineries showed up in this
No,
area.
not at all.
No.
It would be fabulous, And when you look at the center point of education in California is UC Davis.
Correct.
And here we are with Texas A&M, who is our agricultural university. And with the strides that they're making in developing an enology program and a viticulture program, we're going to have the expertise being generated right here at Texas A&M. And then to be in the Brazos Valley where grapes are grown, great foods and wines are being produced, I really see the future very bright for this festival.
Agritourism is
Right.
a big,
Agritourism.
huge
Yes, I've been
trend
hearing a lot about
in destination travel. And I think Bryan College Station is perfectly positioned for agritourism.
Right.
So talk about some of the other wineries that are in this area that you're famous
Well,
with.
we've got 3 wineries now in Brenham, and then if you go to Navasota, there's a winery. There's one on the way to Conroe,
Okay.
and the plans are that there's 2 or 3 other wineries that are going to be within a 30, 40-mile radius of Bryan within the next 3 years. So,
Fantastic.
that's a big concentration to go from one winery to 8 or 9 wineries, all within 60 miles. I think is pretty exciting.
And we've just started the Texas Bluebonnet Wine Trail, which encompasses Bryan all the way to the Woodlands. And there, I believe, are already 8 wineries along that corridor. And that will continue to grow and develop as well.
Right.
So you're really talking about kind of a wine trail, similar to Napa to Calistoga
Yes,
or
exactly.
Healdsburg, or
And
anything
we
like
see that happening. We really do. Because the thing that makes wineries really work is people having enough population to really support those wineries. It's nice that you can grow grapes in Lubbock, but there's not enough people to support the wineries.
Okay.
Well, with Houston, the fourth largest city in the United States, that's what makes wineries successful. So this is the ideal place to put a winery.
So tips for some of these wineries that are here that have been around for, say, 2 to 3 years, what would you say they should really focus on?
Just keep doing what they're doing and just keep doing it better and better every year, and they'll find success.
Fantastic. Well, folks, let's see. Let's try some of this wine here. We're talking, this is the Angel Late Harvest Riesling here, 2006.
Yes?
And late harvest, as we talked about, the grapes were picked later in the harvest period to where the sugar levels get pretty high and concentrated. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
About 3 weeks after the regular harvesting of Riesling is when we pick the late harvest.
Because Riesling, you can make it so many different styles. You can make it bone dry, you can make it semi-dry, and then you can make a sweet wine, and this would be more categorized as a sweet Riesling, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's perfect with a lot of wonderful cheesecakes and desserts like that.
Fantastic. Wow. Yeah, right away you get a lot of
It's like
great
nectar.
sweet fruit nectar right on the nose, and it's a beautiful thing. There's some complexities there, some tropical fruits.
Little apricot. It's nice.
It's got wonderful balance. That's the beauty of Angel, is that because of our cool nights out in Lubbock, we're able to maintain some good acids.
Absolutely.
So
I can
the
pick
sugar
that up.
and the acid really works well together.
It's really nice and crisp, and the acids is what makes it food friendly. It doesn't necessarily have to be a
Exactly.
dessert wine.
Because it cleanses the palate
Correct.
and it allows you, it makes those taste buds excited so they're ready to taste the flavors of the food that you're dining.
Fantastic. Well, folks, thanks a bunch for coming. Thanks
You
for,
bet.
for
It's
Thanks
great
for
to be
Texas
here.
Reds. Thanks for being such an integral part of Texas Reds. I know you guys are the official wine sponsor, and that's a beautiful thing. So, the city of Bryan thanks you, and I thank you guys for your time.
You bet.
Thanks for being here.
Welcome back, everybody. Glad you could be with us. We're here in the LaSalle Cafe. We're here at the Texas Reds Festival. I've got two special guests with me, new Mayor Mark Conley and Councilmember Jason Bainski. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us. Kyle. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Well, today is we've kind of lucked out a little bit. The weather has so far cooperated. How's things going out there, Mayor?
Things are going great. Staff's doing a great job of keeping it organized and things flowing. Like you say, the weather's participating. People are having fun. From little kids playing on toys up to the grandparents. So it's going great.
Councilman, what was all the preparation that went into this? What kind of work goes on behind the scenes, if you know how long it took to put all this together?
The council's been planning an activity and an event like this for probably upwards of 10 years. And in the past year, as it starts coming to fruition, we've got a lot of staffers involved, a lot of volunteers from around the community that have been involved in planning the event and working with the merchants here in downtown Bryan and working with the different wineries around the state of Texas and the different vendors, and
Right.
for a very successful event today.
Oh, it is. So far, it's turned out really good. Mayor, talk about a little bit about the downtown revitalization effort. This is almost, I'm calling it almost like a little bit of a coming out party for downtown Bryan. There's been a huge change from even 5 years ago for the people that haven't been down here lately, or the people that are out in the Brazos Valley. What's the message that you need to tell them to get to come to downtown Bryan?
Well, it's a good opportunity to come down and see what we've done and have a lot of fun while you're here. About 3 or 4 years ago, we did Main Street. We're now working on Bryan Street. We've had lots of buildings that have been redone and refurbished, and it's just a good chance to see what's down here. And the people have been walking up to me all day saying, "Wow, this is really neat down here." We hadn't come. They hadn't had a reason to come, and they're seeing downtown. They'll be coming back to go to the restaurants and shop because they're excited about what they're seeing.
You just got sworn in. You're the new mayor. Give us a little bit of vision of what Mark Conley thinks he needs to do for the city of Bryan.
Well, we want to keep these kind of things going. We want to create some excitement. We want to keep revitalizing downtown. We've got some great developments on both sides of town that are working well, and we just want to keep those positives going.
Oh, I understand. It's a great place. Jason, speak a little bit about, the mayor mentioned downtown revitalization. That's a really big thing for everyone involved. The downtown Bryan is it's a great place for families, for everyone in the Brazos Valley. Tell us a little bit about the revitalization project down here.
Well, it's been going on for 10, 20 years now, and we're finally getting to the point where we're seeing the fruits of our labor here. And you know, whether it was the start of the LaSalle Hotel, you know, the Carnegie Library, the various restaurants, we're seeing new businesses open up shop here in downtown Bryan almost on a daily, weekly basis now. And there's just a few spots left if folks want to come and open up a business here. But you'll continue to see revitalization here in downtown Bryan, and the streetscapes are very nice, and throughout the holidays and throughout the shopping seasons here, we definitely welcome people to come see the coming out now downtown Bryan. And we've got some art here that we've got throughout downtown that's symbolic of our history of the city of Bryan. So.
You're speaking of the Carnegie right across the street from us, and right outside the LaSalle Hotel
The Bomber.
here. The Bomber.
Bryan Bomber.
Those are just great additions, and they add so much to the flavor of downtown Bryan, I think. What do you think, Mayor?
Well, yeah, they do, and there'll be more coming, you know, as we can. We add things there. And
Is there anything in the works that you can talk to us about that you know of? Or does anybody have something?
probably shouldn't say those things till we know them to be a
Okay, I
fact.
can
You know, we don't
understand
want to spread rumors.
I can understand that. A little bit so far, what you've seen going on, is there anything that you think you're already kind of got your thinking caps on for next year, more or less?
Sure, we're taking notes every hour on what's going on. The staff's, you know, learning where we need to tweak this, tweak
Right.
that. And I'm just so excited. I think this will be an annual event that'll draw thousands and thousands of people down here. It'll be good for the city. The people that come will have a good time, and it'll just be a good community event.
What about the people? Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the other wine events throughout the state of Texas have been very successful, particularly the one up in Grapevine, Texas, and we'd like to eventually grow into that type of festival, and again, continue to add vendors and people to our community, whether they already live here or folks that want to come and see what Bryan's all about, and maybe someday reside here and raise their families here, but to see what City of Bryan is all about and continue to grow this festival.
Say if I was thinking about putting a business in down here, and what's the process? Who would I need to call to say, you know what, there's that vacant building down there and it's in downtown. What kind of special deals or what's going on down here in downtown that's helping, the Bryan's doing to helping to draw these merchants into downtown?
Well, our economic development director, Dennis Gehring, would be a good person to check with. They just call the city main city office, and they can hook him up with him. John Henry works for the Downtown Economic Development Association. John knows every building, what's available, what's not, and John would be a good person to contact. And I'm sure there's a number of realtors that would love to help them. So you know, we can get them the information. If they're interested in downtown, we can fill them full of information.
I'm sure there are. What about other things in Bryan? Not just down here, but there seems to be a lot of growth everywhere in Bryan, all across the board.
Yeah, we're continuing to grow on the east side of Bryan. We've got a new movie theater just moved in, new grocery store, and all the different retail around there. New residential developments on the east side. On the west side, we've got some new subdivisions, a new country club out on the west side, and a new health science center that's going to be locating on the west side of town, Texas.
That's a big one.
Health science center, very large, and the mayor can probably expand a little bit on that one since that was one of his projects. But
that's a very exciting project, the Health Science Center. The system, ADM system, just signed a $10 million contract to do all the planning and everything, and it's going to be everything from not just a medical school, but a pharmacy school, nursing school. They've already have plans to fill up that 200 acres right now.
Right.
And maybe even a teaching hospital, maybe a hotel. They're just thinking out of the box.
Right.
And coming up with great ideas.
You have to start somewhere.
To integrate that in with the traditions development and all the land around it. It's going to be a tremendous thing.
It really is. I think it's going to be great for the city of Bryan all the way around. Back to Texas Reds. Any things that you think you're going to be adding to it, or do you want to try to expand on this a little bit, do you think?
well, we've sent staff out to various locations around Texas and other wine festivals, other festivals, to see exactly what they're doing and what's successful. And we'll probably continue to add the vendors and add a different variety of music and crafts and arts that come with it, and hopefully expand the festival to north and south parts of downtown Bryan. But it'll be a learning process, and we'll definitely be open for suggestions from the community and from the participants today with what they'd like to see for future years to come.
Great. Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for coming into the LaSalle Hotel. I know you want to get back out there to your steaks. Are you a medium rare or a well done kind of guy?
Medium rare.
Medium rare. What about you?
Well
Jason?
done.
You're okay. I'm a well done kind of guy too. As long as I've got some grilled onions or grilled mushrooms
There
with
you
me
go.
and a good glass of red wine, gentlemen.
Thank you, Kyle.
Appreciate it. Thank you
Kyle,
much.
thank you for having us.
Absolutely. When we return, it's all about the beef. Good friend Rick Davenport took a stroll down Steak Alley and spoke with a few of the teams. One team had a very special purpose for being here. We'll let them tell the story. Can you say, where's the beef, like Clara Peller did years ago? Well, we know where a lot of it went. It was right here at the Texas Reds '07 Steak and Grape Festival in historic downtown Bryan. BCS TV's Rick Davenport caught up with a couple of the steak cook-off teams to learn their secrets and one team's mission for a good friend.
And we're the Hardheads. We originally started in 1979. Like our picture showed, we were at the Speedway having a good time and decided that it was so much fun, we're just going to do it. So we've been doing it ever since.
So more or less, you're not. It's not like a professional steak cook-off team. It's just a bunch of friends to get together.
Just a bunch of friends to get together and have fun. We do it totally for fun. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. They're all ribeye steaks. We have a special season we put on. We feel like keeps the moisture in, breaks down the fat content, and hopefully makes it tender through the process without drying it out. Through the years, we developed what we think is a good marinade for the steak prior to the seasoning, and then we grill it on a hot fire. We use mesquite wood. Mesquite wood because it puts a real hot flame. We're not going to have it in the barbecue pit long enough for it to smoke or have a smoke ring or anything like a regular barbecue pit. For a steak, we just want the heat, and we want it quick and to the point. One of the main things you have to do with the steak is you have to put it out and let it just sit, say, on the counter or whatever, so the whole steak is completely at room temperature or the same temperature. Not necessarily room temperature, but the temperature of the steak is the same throughout. So it cooks throughout, where you get a better, juicier, tender steak. The other point would be that after you cook it, let it sit 5 minutes and let the juices react and come back together. And that'll make the steak a whole lot better.
Absolutely. It was a local event, first time Bryan, and we wanted to be a part of that event. So,
how is it different, barbecue that you're an expert in, I guess, and steak that you're, I guess, coming along, or would you say you're an expert?
well, I wouldn't say an expert, but the big difference is time. I mean, normally when we barbecue, it's for 10 hours, and of course the steak took us about 10 minutes. So we had a lot of daytime to play with. So we decided to do briskets and stuff, and people have come by, and we're just passing it out to them for samples and having fun. So.
When it comes to steak, though, and does it require a much different seasoning type thing, or do you not put anything on it, or can you say?
No, certainly seasoning is important, but also it's a much higher heat. I mean, you want to get it on there. You want to sear it. You want to cook it, about medium rare, medium, and you want to take it off. You don't want to overcook it, certainly. So steak's a little different. You have to watch a lot closer. Briskets and that sort of thing you can keep on all day long and not have to worry about it too much.
Gary, first time, Texas Reds Festival, what brought you here?
What brought me here is I started seeing the advertising last summer, and I was actually down here at one of the restaurants eating with a friend of mine, Stuart Pfeffer, and I told him, Stuart, I said, you like to cook, you built me the Texas grill and everything. I said, we're going to enter that contest. Well, we knew at the time he had cancer, and he passed away in November, and I felt obligated. I said, I got to do it. We used his trailer with his spices and everything. I got Buppy with Buppy's Catering, and Lewis Gaster with City Bryan, and we entered a team, and then Hospice helped out Stuart a whole lot there at the end, and my brother-in-law, Woody Jones, and I got to know Hospice, and I went, if we happen to win, we got to do something with the money, and we'll just do donations and stuff all day long, and if we win, we'll give it all to Hospice. Well, we've raised a few $1,000s for Hospice already, and if we win, that'll be another $1,000, so who knows what could happen.
Well, that's wonderful. I guess he'd be proud, at this
Oh,
point.
yeah. Stuart was a great guy, good friend. He loved to cook. He loved people. I had one of his family members came out today and videoed the whole deal because his mom and dad just said, I just don't think I can come out there because I've got one of his signs on the end that said custom ironwork by Stuart Pfeffer, and we got a memorial to it. So they felt like they couldn't come, but they videoed it and took it home to them.
Wonderful. That is great. Now to the cooks. Do you normally cook steaks, or is it barbecue, or how's that?
This is the first time I've ever entered anything like this, and it was because Stuart and I decided to. And steaks I thought was a little unusual, but gosh, it's a little easier to cook a steak than it is. But we're finding out there's lots of different ways. I called Buppy just to ask him a couple of questions. He said, man, I'd love to help you with that. And he said, hospice, they're some of my favorite people. So we teamed up with hospice. Lewis had been at lunch with Buppy and I, so it just kind of all turned into something. And as we got here today, the lady from hospice was here, and she helped us set up and got a band. I mean, it just turned into a neat day. I've had as much fun as I've ever had, and there's been lots of people here greeting them and hi, and city folks and people you know from high school. It's just been a lot of fun.
Great. The actual cooking of the steak itself, is much to it? Is it all in the spices, or tell me any type of secret that you might be able to share?
Well, everybody got the same steaks. We got 4 ribeye steaks that the city brine issued us this morning. We had all day to do whatever we wanted to.
So they're issued steaks.
They're issued steaks. So everybody should have had pretty close to starting at the same place. I had a seasoning that Stuart gave me, and I really wanted to use it. Well, Buppy brought his stuff. Come to find out, Stuart's seasoning and his seasoning were almost identical. And I don't know if I ought to tell Buppy's secret or not, but a little bit of sugar, and then a little bit of tenderizing in a special way, and then a tiny bit of garlic salt. And we had lots of people taste. We actually practiced on some of our own steaks through the day before we cooked those. They were great. So, secret, good hot grill, and just a few little old family secrets probably makes a better steak than just chucking it on a gas grill and running.
How about next year? What do you think for next year?
Oh, we're going to be back. We're going to do it bigger, better. We're going to go all out next year, and hopefully we can raise money for hospice and have as much fun. I told them I thought they ought to do it twice a year. I've never done it before, and I'm into it now.
Gary, in case somebody needs to call you, can they reach you by phone? What's your phone number?
Sure. My office number at Mobley Pool Company is 776-5557. And the only thing I've ever done before is cook for a few small groups. I don't know, heck, we may even start just doing it. We're just doing it for fun. So nonprofits, things like that, heck, call us. We'll help you out.
Good. Gary, thank you.
More to come from historic downtown Bryan with the Texas Red Steak and Grape Festival. When we return to historic downtown Bryan, we'll meet a couple of saucy sisters. To be more specific, 2 very interesting ladies who know more about wine and entertaining than I'll ever remember. Get your TiVos ready. You're going to want to record this. Welcome back to BCS TV's Hometown Happenings Texas Red Special. It's Wine 101. The Saucy Sisters, Barbara and Beverly, are going to give us all some pointers about wine.
Hi, we're the Saucy Sisters. I'm Barbara.
And I'm Beverly. And a lot of people ask us, are you really siblings? Well, yes.
Yes.
But don't ask us which one is older, because we don't say.
The other thing we are is barstool companions.
And best friends. And yes, drinking partners. We go way back. Way back.
Which is probably how we ended up writing a couple books on wine. We did one called The Saucy Sisters Guide to Wine, What Every Girl Should Know Before She Uncorks. That's easy for me to say.
Yeah. Yes, the other one is easier. It's the Everything Wine book. It's everything you need to know about wine. And we figured a few years ago, because we love drinking wine so much and love sharing all of the wine information we were learning with our friends, that we might be able to make a living out of this.
And so here goes. We have a few things from our 2 books that we would like to share with you. The first one being what we call the tasting ritual. You know how when you go into a restaurant and you order your bottle of wine, and then the waiter sommelier comes over, and then there's all this stuff
All this
And
presentation stuff.
what do you do?
They present the bottle, give you the cork, and then it's like, wow, what are you supposed to do? You want to look really cool, and we've come up with what we call the tasting ritual, and it's the 6 S's. And like Barbara loves to say, it's not how much you really know.
It's how much other people think you know about wine that really counts. So we tell people how to fake it. And so we'll teach you how to fake it too. The first S has to do with the stem of the glass. We've discovered that the more somebody knows about wine, the lower on the stem they seem to hold the glass. So step number 1.
Right. We tend to hold it sort of midway. We still have things to
lot
learn
to
about
learn.
wine. So the first one is stem. The second one is
Stare.
stare. And what you want to do, you want to take a good look at the wine. There's reasons for all this, but you don't have to worry so much about all the reasons. But you do want to look at the wine. You do want to look at its clarity. Be sure it's not, discolored in any way, which might indicate a bad wine. But basically, just kind of do it. Hold it against the napkin or the white tablecloth and
Admire.
admire. Yes.
The next one is swirl. And needless to say, you can't do that if you have a full glass of wine, but if you have that little taste, just swirl it around as vigorously as you can. And what that does is it puts all the aromas right here at the top of the glass. And Beverly doesn't like swirling like this, so she does it on the table, which is a little more secure.
I like swirling, but I'm a messy swirler. So you can see if you're less confident than Barbara, as I am, you can just kind of do it against the table there, and that's good enough.
And of course, that sets us up for the next S, which is sniff. And by that, we mean put your nose way down into the glass.
Take a deep breath and really enjoy the aromas, because this is one S that most people don't spend enough time in, because we really get much more sense of the wine and the beauty of the wine from smelling than we do from tasting, believe it or not.
In fact, we know a couple of restaurateurs who have developed their whole wine list on the basis of smell. They don't even drink wine, but yeah, really. Our favorite part. But they will evaluate a wine solely on the way it smells. But then, of course, our favorite part, the next S, is the sipping. And if you watch Beverly, she is rolling it around all over her mouth. And that is what you want to do, because different parts of your tongue will detect different tastes. The tip of your tongue will detect sweet. The sides will detect the acid. And the back will detect the bitter taste of the tannins. So you want to make sure that it reaches all of those surfaces.
Yeah, and you want to enjoy it. Usually, we'll take a sip and just, swallow. But, that way we're really not enjoying all the essence of all the tastes. And the other taste that you have in your tongue is, of course, salt. But hopefully you're not tasting any saltiness in your wine.
It doesn't come into play.
No.
And the last S is, once the waiter has poured, you've gone through all of this, silence. You don't have to feel compelled to say anything. You don't have to come out with something
Some
really.
jewels. We've seen some of the really big wine guys, not guys necessarily, but a lot of times they are. They want to come out with these pearls of beauty, what they think. They say it's chewy or leathery or, something like that, and it just ruins the whole experience. And just, silence is golden in this case, and just ask your sommelier or server to just thank you very much, serve the wine. The 6 S's. Next time you're in a restaurant or a wine tasting, give it a try, and I think your friends will be impressed.
Well, one of the other things, and this is from our second book, the Everything Wine book, we came up with a bunch of myths about wine. And
well, it's so interesting because we had a radio show for several years in Nashville. We're from Nashville, and people would always ask us, they'd call in or send us emails asking questions about wine, and we found so often there were some misnomers, and some very common ones. So we thought we put together these 10 top myths about wine, and some of them are kind of surprising, but we thought we would wear 2 of them today.
So let's see, which one are you wearing? Wines have the same amount of alcohol. Not. they can range from like 7%, let's say, for a light Riesling, to 13, 14, 15% for like a Zinfandel. And there's a huge difference. Of course, when you taste them, you very often notice that. But unless you read the label beforehand, you might not be aware of that.
And the alcohol content will be there, sometimes in very small print on the label, but you do want to look at it. What we're finding more and more is a lot of winemakers are increasing the alcohol content. So maybe a few years ago, you might have been drinking like we are here, a Sauvignon Blanc, and might have had 10, 11% alcohol. Now you're going to see very often 12, 13, and that little bit of difference, you'll feel. The next, Barbara's wearing wine myth, which is Zinfandel is a pink wine. Zinfandel is a wonderful story, but I think most of us, or many people, think of Zinfandel as white Zin, and Zin actually is a red grape.
Years ago, in the 70s, you probably remember Sutter Home as being like the first big white Zinfandel wine. Well, Bob Trinchero, who owned Sutter Home, was producing Zinfandel, red Zinfandel, and all of a sudden,
no one was buying.
Oh yes, they were buying, but when he was fermenting, fermentation stopped.
But they had too
batch.
much at the time too. It wasn't as popular. The red.
Oh no, it was definitely not as popular. No, you're
no.
absolutely right. But he had this batch of wine, and fermentation stopped, and he was too busy at the time with the rest of the harvest, everything else. He said, "Well, I'm not going to worry about this now. I'll just put it aside, and I'll come back to it later," which he did a couple weeks later. And he tasted it, and he said, "Well, it's sweet, but maybe I can do something with this anyway.
Maybe I can sell this swell." He
did. That year he sold 8,000 cases of it. 15 years later, that year he sold 10 million cases of it.
Go figure.
So that's why people tend to think of Zinfandel now as the pink wine and not necessarily the red wine.
The red wine. But it has made a comeback. I think now the red Zin, the real Zin, is coming into fashion.
Oh, very much. It's very hip. Very hip. Well, there's one thing that Beverly and I don't really know a whole lot about, and that is leftover wine. But we do have
on the rare occasion when we have a bottle of wine that we haven't finished, we certainly want to save it because we might want it the next day or the day after. And part of the problem is, how do you preserve it? So often, a wine will really go bad in a matter of days. Sometimes red wines particularly, maybe even faster.
And the thing that hurts wine in that regard is contact with air. So you want to remove as much of the air as possible. So our way to preserve that bottle, the rest of that bottle, is to eliminate the air on the top by, if you can believe this, adding marbles.
Clean marbles. These are not ones that your kids have played with in the dirt, right? You want to clean them. And actually it acts very similar. I'm sure all of you know those vacuum sealers. What they basically do is remove the air too. But this is our cheap version. We love cheap things that we can do at home. And all you want to do is just put the marbles in, and what that will do is obviously eliminate the air and raise the wine level back to the top, and then always recork it. And you don't have to have any fancy closures. Just using the cork, as long as you get a good seal, will work. But always remember, put it in the refrigerator, because keeping it out is going to not help preserve it. It's going to...
well, yes, the cold will retard the effect of any air
and
on
that's
the wine.
particularly true for the reds. So.
When we did our first book, The Saucy Sisters Guide to Wine, What Every Girl Should Know Before She Uncorked, we obviously, by the title, that we wanted to make it kind of a girl's guide. It was, at the time, there was nothing about wine out there just for women.
Well, we started reading a lot of books. We were really getting into it with the radio show. We were interviewing a lot of sommeliers and winemakers and restaurateurs, and we'd have people ask us about wine. And there were a few books out there that we liked, but they were so scientific and difficult reads. Yeah, it was tough for us to get through them. Two blondes. But anyway, we wanted something fun. We figured we love learning about wine, and it should be fun. It should be easier than we had experienced. So we thought, well, let's put together a guidebook and make it sort of like Cosmo, fashion, beauty,
Men, sex, travel, restaurants. So those are the kinds of chapters we had in that book. So when it came to the men chapter, I'll never forget, we were sitting on
your
floor in my
Barbara's
living room.
room.
And oh my gosh, we were just laughing ourselves silly.
Well, what we were doing, we were researching the varietals. We were reading about the Merlots. We were reading about the Cabs, reading about
Chardonnays.
the Chardonnays, the Zins, the Pinot Grigios, and we realized all these grapes have personalities. And we thought, some are a little immature, some are verbose, they grow anywhere. Some are a little bit more temperamental. Some are deep and serious. And we thought, wow. Of course, I think we were drinking some wine also.
We definitely were drinking wine during that discussion. But we decided that we would ask our friends about the men in their lives and see if there was any correlation. And in fact, there was.
Just like horoscopes, you can make almost anything work. But no, this one did. We found it so true. We found, like for instance, our brother is a Cab guy. He tends to drink Cabs. He loves them, always has. That's been his #1 wine.
And the grape itself is one of those. It turns into a wine that takes time to develop. It really takes aging. And because they've got very harsh tannins when they're young, and they just take time to mature, which is definitely what happened to our brother.
Like our brother, our younger brother, right. Anyway, he's matured and he's turned into a wonderful, wonderful businessman and family man, just like the Cabs. You want to hang on to them, for life.
They're good for the long haul.
But one we loved was Merlot. The Merlot guy the Merlot guy is, let's
do
the
it this
grape.
way. The Merlot grape is really versatile. It can be made into a wine all on its own, which is fabulous. It's also a terrific blending grape. And at least before Sideways, the movie, it was very popular. And even though it had a setback, it's coming back again.
And we brought Ken here because we figured Ken is a Merlot guy. Ken was sort of everywhere. He got along with everyone, particularly Barbie. He was very good at parties, loved food, loved music, just like the Merlot grape, But, he sort of fizzled out. Didn't he?
He did. Barbie
dropped
him.
him.
Yeah. But I think he's on a comeback too.
I hope so. I think what they're doing is they're making some better Merlot wines now. I think it just got too big where they were making inferior wines.
Mm-hmm. We had a couple other guy things too. We had some pickup lines like, "Come on and give me a swirl." And then there's some others. Maybe we'll just leave for you to read.
Right? Yeah. But we do have some sports terms. As a matter of fact, we were again doing research and we found some of the wine terms also can be sports terms. And here's a woman wanting to read and learn about wine, and here's her guy, wanting to talk sports. So we said, well, let's get together. So this is called huddling with your man.
And we found out that there are indeed common terms. One of them has to do with this and with this. Because when he was talking about punts, he was talking about football.
And she was talking about champagne. Because punt is actually this indentation on the bottle of champagne, and it's actually there for a purpose because this is under so much pressure that they actually need this indentation. That's also why the bottle of champagne glass is so thick too. But the punt is actually that indentation on the champagne bottle. We also have some others, hang time and
you name it.
Yes.
You name them. You name it. But we appreciate your having us here. We've had such a blast.
It's been wonderful here.
This has been the most wonderful festival.
It has. We've had a great time, and we just hope you enjoy learning about wine and drinking wine as much as we do. So cheers.
Cheers.
Before we close out today's show, let's check back with Rick Davenport and see who won the steak cook-off.
I mean, my brother paid our entry fee, which is Equity Real Estate. Bubba Wyman helped cook, and Gary Wyman helped cook, and Ed Catterson helped cook. We came out here, gave away 200 pounds of meat. I mean, we had a great time doing it. We didn't expect to win, but hey, we won and we had a great time doing it.
Second place, that's not
Yeah,
bad.
hey, you know, them guys sent me down here because they didn't think we were going to win. The block I walked was the sweetest block I walked all week, you know.
Well, congratulations, y'all.
Thank you. It was a fun day.
Tell us about, when you sit down with these steaks, what do you do with them? You look at them and go, what do we do now? Or, do you have a formula?
Yeah, our formula simply is to give them away free to everybody that walks up. So they vote for us for people's choice.
There you go.
That's the simple math. Give it
And
away
we got
free.
lucky on the 7th place.
And involve yourself with the Bryan Police Department because they will come and they will eat. Those guys can eat and they vote.
Do you know any of the judges? That's the big deal, though.
We don't know. We do not know one of the judges.
I got you.
That's right.
So the people spoke.
The people spoke. They all came and voted
have
because we gave away more than anybody else.
Gotcha.
We really did. We had a good time. This was an awesome, awesome event. I'm so glad Brian's doing it. We look forward to next year.
Absolutely. Actually, we're going to have 2 teams next year because I'm tired of hanging out with these guys. So I'm forming my own team. They're on their own.
Well, congratulations. Good to see you next year.
Thank you.
What will it be? The feeling and how it all worked out and wow.
Well, we didn't do it really to win. We did it because of a special person that passed away. And then as the day went on and we were tasting our own steak, and of course Buppy was unbelievable, but I got, we could win this thing. But you never want to get a little over it. So I just go, I just like to make a good showing. And then we were sitting over and they started at 10 and I told them, I said, we don't want 10 through, it's all or none. Of course, 10, 9, 8, 7, got the top 3 and I went, oh my gosh, we're going to be embarrassed. We're not even going to get the top 3. So, it's unbelievable, unreal. This is cool. This is cool.
It's kind of like magic.
It's been a wonderful day. We've had some really sweet people come up because of Stuart and why we did it and say some neat things. And one man said, I'm about to cry when I saw that in memory of Stuart Pfeffer. And this hospice was there. And the reason they were there with us is I got to know a little bit about hospice just because of Stuart. And when he got real, real sick, then I had a brother-in-law, Woody Jones, and around the same time, and I thought, this hospice is neat. I never really knew much about it. So it all came together where it was great. This was great for a lot of people. So we gave away sausage today for donations to hospice, and now we got them $1,000 more check. So I don't know, $3,000 or $4,000 today for hospice. Hey, I'd make it. That's what we're celebrating. We will help a good cause, remember a good friend, and have fun the whole day long too. I'm ready to do it again every week. This is fun.
You talk to hospice for a second.
Yeah.
What is your name? I'm sorry.
Amy Banks.
Tell me the day and what it means to hospice.
It means being able to care for a lot more patients, providing services to them, providing care to people that have lost a loved one, because a lot of people don't realize that we provide bereavement services to people that have lost loved ones, whether we service their family or not. And that's huge, being able to serve our community.
It takes folks like Gary Mobley and his team and incidents like this to kind of make it more special, I guess, right?
Yes, sir, it does. It brings it into focus.
Well, that just about wraps it up from historic downtown Bryan. We hope you saw some friends and neighbors along the way, and we hope you learned a little bit about wine. Coming up next for the BCS TV cruise, mark your calendars. It'll be October 13th and October 14th out at the Texas World Speedway for the Big State Festival. If you like country and if you like Southern rock, you're not going to want to miss this one, folks. It's going to have Leonard Skinner, Lyle Lovett and his big, large band, Willie Nelson, Trace Atkins, Tim McGraw, Dierks Bentley, the list goes on and on. Like I said, 50 bands on 5 stages. They're going to have a kids area. The Richard Petty driving experience will be there. It's going to be a huge event. For Rob Camper, Rick Davenport, and the entire BCS TV crew, I'm Kyle Netterville saying so long from historic downtown Bryan.